rocking.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah.
Going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Monday, October the 10th, 2022, years after zero, and you are joining me just in time for another episode of OTP's Weekend Review with Stu. Stu Baylor is coming fresh off of another GNCC victory. He got the win just yesterday at the Buckwheat up in West Virginia. Stu is going to join us in just a few moments here to talk about that win, to talk about National Enduro last weekend, and just all sorts of stuff. What he's doing this week, what he's doing next weekend, and it's a good conversation. I'm excited for you guys to listen to it. So Stu will join us in just a few moments here, but I want to start this episode off a little bit differently. I want to throw up some T's and P's for someone that I think a lot of you all know, and if you don't know, you should go up and shake his hand and have a conversation with him. Chuck Lemaster. Chuck Lemaster had a bit of a scary incident this past weekend at the GNCC. He races in the morning race. For those that don't know, Chuck Lemaster is the GNCC pastor. And so you can always see his rig set up. With Team Faith is the name of his ministry. So I know that if you've been to a GNCC, then you've likely talked to Chuck. I know most people know Chuck, but you've probably definitely seen the rig and everything. But I'll just go ahead and read the post that he put out about it. First, he said, obviously, thanks for the texts and messages. Said, I don't remember much, but what a ride. Last I remember, I was getting the whole shot. Greg came up inside me in second corner. I think Ryan was right behind him. I went in a bit wide to give those guys some room because they're battling for a championship. I followed them into the woods, and next thing I know, I was strapped to a backboard and hollering about back pain. So he said a long, miserable ride by ambulance to Morgantown Hospital. Got harder and harder to breathe. Once he arrived, they put a chest tube in his left lung. All ribs were broken on that side, some in multiple places, and his right lung was collapsed as well. So they put him under, intubated him, and refilled both lungs. So, like I said, just want to start things out with that, give our T's and P's going up to Chuck Lemaster. It sounds like a gnarly incident and no doubt going to be an uncomfortable one to recover from. So, think about Chuck and his recoveries coming up. It seems like we've had to do that for a lot of people this year. There's been a lot of injuries, but we are just 3 more major races away from the completion of the 2022 season, and now all but just a couple championships are wrapped up. We still have a few more left to go. The National Enduro Championship has not yet been decided. The Pro 2 Championship has not yet been decided in National Enduro, but they are all close. And then the Women's Elite title, I believe, is also still up for grabs at National Enduro. And then over on the GNCC side of things, all we have left is the WXC title. That is right. We saw Jordan Ashburn crowned at the last round. This round, we saw 2 more champions. The XC2 champion of 2022 is none other than good friend of the show, Lyndon Snodgrass. Lyndon Snodgrass going out there and getting it done. So big congratulations to Lyndon Snodgrass. He's held that white plate for the majority of the year. A lot of close battles to begin the year, and then he kind of walked away with it a bit and was able to get that championship, and he seals it with a win, which was the first race that Johnny Girard has entered since his injury that he did not win. So Lyndon Snodgrass had to go out there and really just had to beat the other 2 guys he's battling with. He had to beat Ryder Lafferty, and he had to beat Mike Wachowski. And he ended up saying, that's not quite good enough. I'm going to go one step above. I'm going to go out and beat everybody and prove that I've earned this number one plate, that I deserve this number one plate, and that is exactly what he did. So couldn't be more stoked for our buddy Lyndon Snodgrass. A big congratulations to him. It looks like they stayed afterwards and partied down that Team Australia clan, so that was cool to see as well. So big congratulations to Lyndon Snodgrass grabbing that XC2 championship and putting it all together. I was going through some of the previous results. So last year, 2021, Lyndon Snodgrass had, let's start it back in 2020. 2020, Lyndon came over and began what was going to be his first full-time season over here in America. He had one podium the entire year and finished 13th place in the points. Now, he did miss a lot of that year because there were some visa issues. He had to go back over to Oz. He ended up getting held up over there before he was able to come back, so he missed a lot of rounds because of that. But he showed glimmers of speed. He showed that he had what it took to contend in that XC2 class. Last year, we see a complete turnaround from that. Really starting to figure out the 3-hour thing, really starting to see the consistency. Last year, he ended up with 2 wins in 2021, 6 podiums on the year last year, and he ended it 3rd place in points as Johnny Gerard sailed to that XC2 championship last year. And then he came out swinging this year and was able to get it done. So a big leap up for Lyndon. It's cool to see him put together that speed, put together the consistency, and that race IQ to come home with that championship, that number one plate that he will carry into next season aboard that Kawasaki. So congratulations to him. And then we move to our XC3 champion. They got crowned on the weekend as well. None other than Brody Johansson. Brody Johnson went out there and got it done. He wrapped up the championship a round early in that XC3 class. As we talked about last week, Brody went into it with an 11th place and a 10th place. That were his 2 worst finishes of the year. Going into this race, he had 11th place and his 6th place being dropped, but he still had that 10th place shown. So now he goes out and does what he needs to do, drops those 2 lowest scores, and he ends up grabbing the XC3 title. He finished off of the podium, which was a little bit peculiar, but nonetheless, might have lost the battle this weekend, but he won the war on the year. He takes home the number one plate and adds another championship to that Magna 1 team. They have one more championship left on the 4-wheel side of things that they're vying for, but a big congratulations, big shout out to Brody Johnson. A really cool thing about this whole thing with Brody is that last year's XC3 champion was Brody Johnson's older brother, Jonathan Johnson, who did it on the same bike, on the same team, in the same class. And now Brody comes back and backs up that Johnson title, and he grabs the championship, which I think is a really cool way to do it. You got big brother comes through and wins it. Little brother, same bike, same ride, same team, goes out the next year and grabs the championship as well. So shout out to Brody Johnson. A big congratulations to him. That was awesome to see him go out there and get that championship. Of course, as we all know, he missed pretty much all last season. He did come back and ride some races at the end of the year last year, but he missed the majority of the year. He had a broken leg that ended up not healing properly the way that it should have. Had to do some different things to get that leg recovered and to come back to racing. But the year before that, we saw him light the amateur world on fire. Top amateur almost every round, if not every round, and an A-class championship there. And then wanted to repeat last year, but that leg injury kept him off the bike. So the plan was A-Class last year, XC2 this year. Because of the leg injury, that ended up bumping things back. So he went XC3 this year. Now he wins that XC3 championship. I was torn between saying title and championship, but grabs that XC3 championship, and next year he will be making the move up to the XC2 class. And with him right outside the top 10 at some rounds this year, finishing in the top 15 this year on a 125. I think Brody Johnson is likely to be an instant competitor. I think that we'll see him battling up for top fives and podiums as we go into next year in that XC2 class. So big shout out to Brody. Big shout out to Lyndon. Stoked that the boys got some championships. There's one more championship left on the line. That is the women's pro class. The WXC championship is still up for grabs, and this one is going to be a nail biter out at Ironman Raceway. Rachel Archer, who no stranger to a nail biter going into Ironman. Last year, it was her and Becca Sheets battling for that title as it came down to the last round as well. If Rachel won last year, Becca had to get third or better, and Becca came through, I didn't look this up, but I want to recall 12 minutes. I think Rachel won that race by 12 minutes, and then Becca came through in the number 3 spot and grabbed that title and sailed into the sunset, into retirement. But Rachel Archer is going to have that pressure on her once again, except this time she is going to be battling with 3-time WXC champion and the winner of this past weekend, Taylor Jones. So that battle is going to come down to the absolute wire. So Taylor Jones grabbed the win this past weekend, puts her right back up there in contention. Rachel Archer was second on the day, and then Corey Seed was third on the day, and that is how the title race looks right now, except flip-flop that. Rachel Archer currently leads, get this, 263 points. Taylor Jones in the number 2 spot, 260 points. And then Corey Steed is there with 240 points. These are the points after 2 drops. So WXC does get 2 drops. After you calculate those drops, Rachel Archer has a 3-point advantage over Taylor Jones going into this weekend. What does that mean? Well, we know that the gap between first and second place is 5 points, and then the gap between second and third place is 4 points. So if Taylor Jones gets first or second place without Rachel winning, then she can win that championship. If Rachel beats Taylor in any capacity, then Rachel Archer will be the 2022 champion. So no pressure, ladies. Just 3 points apart heading into the final round. And as we know in Ironman, there's no telling what that weather's going to do. Could be cold, could be rainy, could be dry. We don't know. We don't know until we get there. But that is going to be a battle to watch in that 10 o'clock race. It's going to be one for the ages. So 3 points of separation between those two ladies as they head into the final round with this championship very much on the line. So let's get right into the section where we pay a couple bills. And these are the people that we hear from on a weekly basis. These are the people that are supporting the sport, supporting this podcast, and you all are supporting this podcast as well. So as always, thank you for listening. But as everyone knows, Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of this very podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been a family-owned and operated company since 1905, and they manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta Motorcycles are the best-looking bikes on the market, and they back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. Right now, the Beta dealer show is going on in San Diego, California. So they got the Beta riders out there chopping it up, hanging out with everyone. So really cool to be a part of Beta and have Beta a part of the OTP, the podcast and everything we got going on over there. So check out betausa.com and find out all the information you need to know about their motorcycles. This episode is also brought to you in part by our good buddy Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor that helps his clients win when it comes to retirement and financial planning. If you or someone you know wants to save and invest for their future or is already retired and needs advice for income during retirement, Zach Tussle is always my first recommendation. Find out more by Googling Zach Tussle or on their website at financialadvisorsdenvernc.com. We've talked about it in the past. Zach was on the show, and he's a racer. He is just like us. He's chasing down tracks each weekend. He's an A-class rider, very fast rider, and we got to talk to him about growing up riding in the Northeast, and then how he got down here, and then what he does and what his role is with Raymond James Financial. So Zach is investing in himself and investing in the podcast. And like I said, he's a racer just like us. So if you've ever been curious about financial advisors or how your money could make you money or how to save and invest for your future, you should check out Zach Tussle. Their website, once again, financialadvisorsdenvernc.com, or find him on social media, shoot him a message. He'll be more than happy to help you out, explain the ropes to you, and let you know exactly what he can do and what you can do to help yourself out. And then last but certainly not least, our newest sponsor on the show. Hopefully we'll be hearing from them soon, maybe tomorrow. Steel City Men's Clinic is here to help men like you and women maintain their overall health and wellness. They are different from similar businesses because it is a medical clinic founded by a patient who suffered from ED at an early age, and a medical doctor who is one of the nation's leading specialists in bioidentical hormones. Steel City Men's Clinic understands the stresses and challenges men face in their lives today and how this can affect their performance at work, at home, and in athletic performance. They use the latest procedures and technologies to help you, so don't put it off any longer. A happier or healthier you is just a phone call away. So you can check them out, steelcitymensclinic.com. And just like it mentioned, I mean, this information is straight on their website. There's no stigma or weird way to talk about it. The owner was a patient. He sought out something to help what he was going through, and it was such a believer in it that he actually funded the Steel City Men's Clinic to get started so that he could help other people that were in that same situation. But going one off of that, where it relates to our world, is because of the effects testosterone has on you, your body, and how your body functions, how your body heals. Traumatic brain injuries. It's a big part of that. It's a big part of recouping from those brain injuries and all of the different side effects that brain injuries can cause to you. And also with athletic performance, especially if you've gotten an injury, that plays a major role in how well your body is able to recover from that injury. That is how I got put in touch with them. I compound fractured my tib fib last December, and got on the program with Steel City Men's Clinic, and it really rapidly progressed the healing rate of my leg and helped me out get back on my feet a little bit quicker and do things quicker than what I even anticipated doing. So there's a lot more to a men's clinic than what you think of when you just hear the name, and there's a lot of different things that they can add to your athletic performance, as well as cognitive brain function and all sorts of stuff. So check out steelcitymensclinic.com. You can be a patient of theirs no matter where you're at. They'll help you out. They'll do virtual visits. They'll send you a kit to do blood testing, all sorts of stuff. So check out Steel City Men's Clinic and see how it can benefit you. Let's get into the GNCC results from this past weekend. As we mentioned, Stu Baylor, who's going to be joining us here in just a few moments, he grabbed the overall win on the day, but it was a battle that came down to the wire. And I'll let him tell that story because he was directly involved in it, so it's a lot more interesting coming from him. In the number 2 spot overall was our 2022 overall champion, Jordan Ashburn, going out there and getting it done in the number 2 spot. And then Craig DeLong stayed right on their heels and grabbed a podium. So we've seen Craig get several podiums throughout the year. He actually even said that he was happy to get a podium, but he's hungry for more. So excited to see that progress that Craig DeLong has made, and excited to see him running up front with the big dogs. So that is your overall podium. In the XC2 class, Lyndon Snodgrass, as we mentioned before, grabs the win in the XC2 class over Johnny Gerard in second and Liam Draper, clicking off another podium with a third place finish. Lyndon Snodgrass came through the finish line with the win, which also sealed and wrapped up the XC2 championship, and immediately went into the champagne showers by his team. But if you look at the pictures, the first ones there, the closest ones to him, spraying him with the champagne, was none other than Josh Strang and Cameron Strang. When Lyndon Snodgrass came over, he lived with Josh, he lived with Cam, and has kind of been a part of Josh's program, and they've ridden together. And now it's progressed to where there's a whole group of Aussies, and they all train together. They all ride together. Gus Reardon, Will Reardon, Mason Simmons, Tyler Palmer, Rui Barbosa, all them guys. They're riding together. They're training together, kind of under the tutelage of Josh Strang. But I thought it was cool to see the pictures and to see the videos of Strang. No doubt, got to be proud to see Lennon. Lennon got to be proud of himself. And then they've kind of seen his whole progression since he's been here in America. And then Mason, I think, has been almost a lifelong buddy of Lennon, so it's cool to see him come over and race this year, and then also be there for that championship as well, and then the Reardons and everything that went into it. I guess a lot of it is I've probably spent more time with those guys than any other riders this year, filming and hanging out and riding over at the compound, so it's cool to see a buddy progress into an XC2 champion, so I thought that was just cool to see the whole thing come full circle. But in the XC3 class, Toby Cleveland comes out of nowhere. His first ever race in the XC3 class ends with his first ever win in the XC3 class. Dakota DeVore is the number 2 finisher there, and then Max Fernandez is going to round out the XC3 podium. But as we mentioned, Brody Johnson wraps up that XC3 title. So, that's the way that things shook down this past weekend. This upcoming weekend is going to be National Enduro in Oklahoma. So, we'll try to keep you updated on that. I'll be completely honest with you. We are expected to have an OTP Tuesday tomorrow as long as everything follows through. We got a little bit of a special program coming to you on Wednesday that is set up, that is in the works. So that will be a one-off. That'll be more of a long-form interview, so be on the lookout for that. And next week, there will likely not be any show. I cannot confirm or deny that as of now. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there and say that there's probably not going to be a show, and if there ends up being a possible way to make the show happen, I will do it. But as of right now, I don't think it will be possible to do a show next week, as I will be out of the country. And I'm not sure what it'll be like. I don't think I'll even be able to have a computer. So I'm going to go ahead and set the expectation that there will be no OTP next week. And if that is the case, I might just take Wednesday's show and schedule it to release next week. That way we can keep the feng shui going. Rather than having 3 shows in 1 week, we'll bump one out to next week so you have something to listen to next week. So anyway, thank you for supporting OTP. Thank you for listening to OTP. And now we're going to go ahead and go to our guest of the evening. Joining us fresh off of a GNCC overall victory. You said you were racing for checks. You said that you were racing for paychecks through the rest of the season. You go out, you do that, you get the win. Stu Baylor, welcome to the show, and welcome back to the win column. A brief stint off of the top of the box. Now you're right back there.
Yeah, it was good. I was pretty frustrated after Ohio. Like I knew there was no winning that one after what happened, and I was sitting in a really good position to win up until then. So that was a bummer, but this weekend just got in a good position and was able to make it happen.
Yeah, man, and it was a lot of tight racing, and I want to kind of jump right into the race and hear about it and hear what happened, because just looking at the lap times, you come through first lap 6th place, 1.9 seconds off the guy in front of you. Second lap 4th place, 0.8 seconds. Third lap 4th place, 1 second. Fourth lap 3.3 seconds back, and then you lead the last 2 laps. But if you look down all 7 of the XC1 guys that were out there on the line, you guys seemed like we're all close throughout the day. What was the racing action like?
Yeah, the track was really weird. I think it's good and bad. A lot of the tracks now have been run so long that they kind of start looking the same everywhere. They're the fast line's the established line, and it just becomes the main racetrack. It straightens out the racetrack. It's just there. And everything's a little tough to pass on, and certain venues are a little more difficult as well. And this is one where obviously the cameras have come out the last couple of years and changed the results in XC1.
No.
Yeah, so this year the track crew made sure like there was ribbon string up everywhere. There was not any lines out on this track at all, and usually like the XC1 guys all have a line picked out. Like we all have a different one that somebody else didn't see, and you kind of push hard to get up on the rear wheel, and you hope that they don't have that line. And if they missed a lap before, you're like, all right, I'll get the pass here. This weekend there was one line, and I was stuck behind Ricky all day watching him take that line and never being able to make the same move that he was doing. And we both kind of just shifted through the pack, one pass at a time. And I was getting pit boards that the XC2 guys were coming, and at one point they were 20 seconds or so up on us, and I was yelling to the guys. I was revving my bike. I was running it in. I was getting a little frisky back there, and trying to let everybody know, like, hey, these boys are coming. It's time to go. And there's just it was a tough track to make passes on. But with that being said, it was also a difficult track to lead on. There was a lot of lines that were just small insides that were faster, but nothing you could ever make a pass on. So it was pretty much four-wheeler width the whole time. Anywhere that a line would normally be, it wasn't. There was hardly any lines that were inside outside equal enough that you could rail around the outside and get by somebody. I think my passes for the day kind of consisted of, well, number one, first lap, I went around the hill. All six of the guys piled up. The entire class, six of them, piled up on the same hill that they had just put in before the race. And I was like, man, the alternate can't be that long. I went around the alternate, and I was like 20 seconds down, so it was that long.
Oh, man.
And lost a lot of time, and then I ran them down with them 2 miles. So I was like, I'm going a lot faster today. The bike was working really well for the conditions. And when I got to everybody, that was when I started getting the pit boards that the XC2 guys were there, which at one point, with me 20 off the lead, I was getting a pit board that XC2 was up 31 on me. So it was like, all right, we got to go. We got to get these boys moving. And I was trying to push with everything I could to try to make passes, and it just didn't work. But yeah, it was kind of chaotic. Like, without being able to make any moves out there, I think I passed Toth on the ground. I got who would have been next? I think Craig let me by. Kind of pulled up wide and let me go. And then got Ashburn in the pits. Ricky got Thad, and I think Thad kind of, like, that unspoken rule of XC1 is like, if you think a guy's going that much faster, let them by and figure out what they're doing, and then try to use their line against them later. And Thad's been really, like, I feel like Thad and I have always been good at that, and just kind of that unspoken respect rule. And Craig used it as well. And Thad let me up the inside when Ricky got by, and I tagged on Ricky a couple seconds back just to let some of the dust clear. And then I saw him, and I was coming around the sweeper before the hill, and I saw him and a lapper go up at the same time, and I just hesitated for a second, just luckily enough that I saw what happened. I came to, there was like 2 lines on the entire go climb, and they were stuck in both of them. And I was like, I'm screwed. And I looked, and I saw a line on the top left that hadn't been hit yet, and there was one fan standing at the top of it. And I think they must have noticed that I was looking at that line. They kind of backed up, and now actually looking back at photos, it could have been Mac Faint. So maybe not a fan, just a gypsy, but
He's
yeah,
still a fan
I
too.
looked up to the left. Yeah, still a fan too. But I looked up to the left. I kind of scanned that line. And I was like, all right, that's it. But I gotta make it. I had already figured out the alternate was way too long, and we were all stacked up still. I mean, 6 of us were all still wheel to wheel, and when I stopped there for a couple seconds, everybody else, I could feel them back there. And like, you don't look back, but you know when a pro's there, the bikes sound different, which I think Craig was right behind me, or Dad was right behind me, then Craig, Ashburn, Josh, like we were all still in a train right there, and squeezed by and came out with the lead. And then I just put on a quick charge for probably 2 miles, got just enough that they couldn't see me. And then I just started riding smart. Like I didn't really push the track was very slick. Like I just tried to ride smart, smooth, and the slower and smoother I rode, the faster I went. So just one of those days where things were really working. And in the back of my mind, I knew how Ricky was riding when we hooked up. Like we were rolling, like we were going really fast. So I kind of expected Ricky to come back through the pack, and I was thinking, like, if he comes back through, like there could still be a last lap push that I'm gonna have to make. So I saved a little bit, and lucky for me, unluckily for him, he had some issues where he got some stuff stuck in his rear wheel up in the pits, and I like I said, I knew at that speed, like he would be coming, but he got cut shy of that one, and it would have been extremely difficult. It would have been a tall order to pass him. I was a lot faster on one half the track. He was faster on the other. So to make him move and home him with how the track was, it would have been pretty difficult. So he possibly threw away that win, and bummer for him, but hell, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results right now. It doesn't say any of that anywhere, so you're good.
Yeah. There's a lot of details that you can't tell, like that go on with the track, like even on the live feed, where we are and what we see out there. There was a lot more mix-ups than that. Like, off the start, Ricky tried going right to the front, made a mistake, crashed, and we were all still piled up, went to the back of the pack again, and he made a move on me when I tried going around a different line to try to get a guy. And from there, it was like he and I just kind of hooked up, and he would make a move, then I would make a move, and he would make a move, and I would make a move, and we just kind of stayed together all the way to the lead, and then that mistake kind of separated us there. So,
Dang. So first, shout out Mac Faint. You kind of alluded to him being on that hill. I know he got that picture of you making the pass on Ricky while Ricky was getting some help on that hill, which was a really cool picture, I thought. But last year, was that same hill there, or was that a completely new section of that track?
that was a new section. It was very similar to what we had last year, just kind of a steep bank from, I believe, the property's old strip mine stuff. So it's got a lot of big steep cuts, and that was just one of those steep cuts off the side. And this one was gnarly. Like, I mean, it was a possible make it or break it. Like, if you got hung up on it, you could lose a lot of time, like a lot more than just going around it. Like one mess up there, especially like Ricky luckily got his bike to the top and somebody grabbed a hold of it, because if not, like it could have destroyed the bike and everything coming back down, and put you out of the race. Like, it was one of those where it's like, all right, this is old school. This is what it was when I started racing GNCC before all the moto boys got involved. But it was real racing. It was fun.
Dang, sounds like, yeah. Because I was sitting here thinking about it, because I was at that race last year. It was actually when Strang was on baby watch, and so him and I drove up the morning of, and then went straight back home. But that's what I was remembering. I don't remember that hill that I kept seeing pictures of and kept hearing about. That's why I was wondering if it was new for this year. And one of the things that you kind of talked about in the interview afterwards, and I kind of wanted to ask you about, is this is technically the second time that you've been the first one to the checkered flag. Unfortunately, though, it is your first win that stands in the record books after everything that went on last year going into that final championship round at Ironman. Does any of that play in the back of your head? Like, do you think about that going into the weekend, like wanting redemption for what happened there in the past, or is it just business as usual?
No, not really. So actually what happened there was, so last year Ben still beat me there. It was the year before where
That's
Ben was
right.
the first one to the checker, but I got the win on a technicality.
That's
And
right.
then the following year he beat me, but then they everybody else in XC1 was caught on a line where there was a fresh, clean arrow. I got too many videos on that one that would really piss people off. But yeah, the arrow measured, she was like 26 feet away, and I mean, it was a brand new clean arrow in a muddy section. Tell me how that happens. But yeah, I mean,
A clean
I
arrow on a
definitely,
dirty tree? No.
yeah, funny, huh? um, yeah, I mean, it was good to actually get the win there. Like that was the first time I crossed the line first there. So you know, a lot of these venues like Big Buck I've won at, West Virginia I've won at. I have not won at Snowshoe. This was one that I had not won at. Technically, yes, I got the trophy and the points in 2020, but it was bench race. He beat me there fair and square. It was just he got caught on the line, kind of the same thing that happened the following year, and one of the other guys had it on video or something. I can't remember all the details, but yeah, it's good to get like kind of check that box. Like, hey, we got to win here. Hey, we got to win there. Like, you know, most of the venues at this point, I've been fortunate enough to be able to come away with a win at some point in my career, and this was one that I have not gotten. I've won a few times at John Penton, but never when it's the John Penton. Always when it's the Burr Oak. So, you know, I'd love to get that Penton gas tank at some point as well. So, no, it was more or less just cool. Like I wasn't really thinking about the last year. It's just more or less cool to get a win at this venue, and you know, the West Virginia crowd, like of all the places and all the races, like West Virginia is probably the most consistent as far as people staying in the woods and cheering you on, hyping you up. Like West Virginia is obviously where race production is based out of, and they've got a lot of heavy diehard fans, and you know, that Preston County area, West Virginia is filled with rednecks with money that love dirt bikes. So they get you pumped up when you're coming through there.
Oh yeah, it's tough to beat a West Virginia crowd no matter where you're at in the state. But yeah, I can't. As soon as you start talking about that, it all hits me. I slept since then. Obviously, we did the show last year about the rules and kind of broke down all the examples and everything of the past. I don't know why I had that backwards in my mind, but thanks for clearing that one up. But yeah, so you get the win, and another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about from your post race interview is cussing your pit crew out, man. What's the deal? What's going on with that?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. So Corey's been out in the woods, and then Lucas has been in the pits here lately. So Corey's my mechanic, and then Lucas is kind of like the crew chief, if you will. He's kind of stepping into a position where he's running the team on race day. Corey
Retired,
just said he
then came back.
Yeah, retired, came back. Decided that the real world, you can make more money, but it's not as fun. So he came back to where it's fun, and so Lucas has asked Corey, like, hey, you know, I've heard about Stu in the pits. Like, is that bad? And Corey's like, honestly, like, it's only ever happened once to me, so it's really not that bad. I mean, I guess. And here, poor Lucas is the first time he gets to, or second time I get to come in the pits, and I'm screaming and cussing. Basically, I thought it was going to be a 7-lap race, judging by lap times prior. And if it was a 7-lap race, or 6 3/4 essentially, I wanted to either go 1 lap long or 1 lap short. And I was mid-pack, so I saw everybody else's pit board saying gas now, gas now, gas now. And I told them before the race, I want to gas on opposite laps because I cannot get by Jordan and Ricky. Like, those are two of the hardest guys to pass for me. They're really good. They're really good at kind of feeling the lines and feeling where the rider is and closing it off. And
Jordan and who?
They both Ricky. So they're really good at kind of maneuvering themselves to where you never can make a move. And they also have really good lines. Like, they pay attention to the lines kind of the same way that I do when I'm walking the track. So the lines that I always think I have picked out, they're already on. So I was like, let's do an opposite pit strategy. And I don't care if I have to gas twice. I want to be on the opposite laps. But we were also thinking 7-lap race. And if that was the case, like, I wanted to go 1 long or 1 short. and I saw everybody else's pit boards. I knew that they were pitting that lap, and I got a pit board that I was pitting. And whenever I see a pit board, I try to give a nod just to let them know I acknowledge it. And I give my nod, yes, like I acknowledge it. And then when I sunk in, because a lot of times you read something and your brain is still kind of taking it in, and then it sinks in. And I was like, I started yelling, no, one more lap. And then I saw another one of our guys, and I yelled, can I make it another lap? I need another lap. And then I'm coming down pro row, and I'm throwing up my hand like, are we going to be able to do it or not? Yes or no? And then Lucas stepped out, and I was like, fuck, like, I got to do it. I got to stop. And I'm stopping with everybody else. The only chance I got is to get out in front of everybody. So I'm like watching. I didn't even put my quick fill cap back on. I'm watching that can come out. The second it comes out, I'm on the gas. And in the meantime, cussing them. I was like, MFing everybody there, because I was like, I thought we had a strategy. I needed that effing pit strategy right now. I'm going to come out, and I'm still not going to be able to get by anybody. So, and I knew prior to the race it was going to be difficult to make passes on that track particular. So that was why I was looking for another strategy. So,
yeah,
sometimes the pit strategy can play in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't. But like, to me, if I can put on 2 and 4, and I know that I'm going faster that day, and this is one of those tracks I knew I had it in me. So I was like, if there's a train, usually in that train, the train's not going as fast as one rider catching that train. So if I gas 1 lap early and I pen it, I catch back up to them. They gas, and I can put 12 seconds back on them. I can gas a second time and not get past. So that was kind of where I was looking at trying to make a different strategy in the pits. And but luckily I didn't blow by my pits, because like my wife and Lucas were there, and they said there's absolutely zero chance that I would have been able to make it. But being as bullheaded as I am, I damn near went on by. Like, so luckily I made that pass. I made a pass in the pits, and I think that was a major beneficial turning point for me in that race. And also me getting pissed off whenever I'm seeing red, I ride that much better. So just worked out.
got a little heated and put the hammer down. Maybe they were just telling you afterwards that you could have made another lap just to kind of calm you down a little bit. I think you had plenty of fuel.
I think I did too. I think they're full of it. But I mean, that's one of those tracks you don't burn much fuel. So I'm with you on that. It would have been like an hour and 48 minutes to go for. I think I would have made it. I think they're just saying that so that. Sorry, an hour 53. Jade's over here correcting me already. So,
yeah, they were just calming you down after the fact. Oh man, no way you could have made it. You made the right decision. We made the right decision.
Exactly. Lucas was like, listen, guys, if Jade shows up to the next round with black eyes, like, we have to make up a live win. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was good. Like, it still worked out, and everything ended up being okay. So now, had I not made those passes and not been able to get to the front, I would have been extremely heated. So at least my pit crew had more faith in myself than I did.
So what position did you come out of that pit stop in?
So I went in 4th, and I came out in 3rd. I want to say Thad was leading, Ricky was 2nd, I was 3rd. We kind of rode in the train, and Ricky had that line that he was making a lot of moves on. Around the 9-mile mark, he got by Thad there. I tried to follow, but it was too close. And then Thad kind of I think he felt me on the inside, and we went up a hill climb, and I was running it up, and he looked over, he could see like I was head down, and then I went after Ricky, and right there it was like Ricky was sending it. So I was doing everything I could, and everybody kind of picked up the pace. I kind of checked over my shoulder there in the fields coming into some hairpins, and like everybody was following suit whenever Ricky took that pace up, and the battle kind of continued all the way up to that hill climb. There was a little bit of a gap that, like, I think Ricky probably pulled me by 2 to 3 seconds. I pulled those guys by 2 to 3, just in a little bit of the dust in the fields. And but when you're talking 2 to 3 seconds, that isn't a gap. That's one lapper can affect that. So it was still really tight racing up to that hill climb, and then from there it was complete chaos for a second, and then luckily I had clear track. But it sounded like the battles kind of continued for the rest of the guys, but also some issues for Ricky and Josh. So bummer. I think Josh sheared his shifter off, and Ricky caught himself up in some banner and then ended up shearing his shifter off. So a couple issues out there, but it was still good racing. I mean, to be that close as everybody was for 2.5 hours, like, that's, as a spectator, like, that's good racing. As any fan of the sport, like, that's good racing. So I can sit back and I can say, I'd much rather have harder tracks with more lines, but at the same time, races like that do help. I feel like help the viewing of the race. So
yeah, I heard you make the comment about the track design was good for the fans but bad for you. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, and you did kind of wrap it up in that sense. But how much more strategy are you thinking about in those tight races, knowing that pit strategy can make or break the race, that one little mistake can make or break the race? Because then once you get in the back of the train, you can't get back to the front very easily. What's the mentals like at a track like this versus a wide open one, or one you're more comfortable with?
It's kind of tough. Like, I'm not a good starter. So for me, if I could get a start and I could bank on a start, like, it would be a whole lot easier. I wouldn't have to worry about a strategy. Just get up front, go. But
yeah, don't look back.
Yeah, exactly. And these scenarios, it's more like I've got to figure out. Sometimes I'll lay back just a little bit and run up quick on the guys and see, can I catch them in a mile, or can I catch them in 3 miles? And it feels like I'm gaining a foot every turn. Like, and then I know, like, all right, I'm going faster than these guys, or I'm pushing my ass off and I'm not really going any faster. They're just kind of laying back. They've got more in the tank too. Like, if I'm gaining a foot or two and I'm like, I can see this guy in the distance and I just can't close the gap, I'm like, all right, this is a day where they're going, like Ohio, it would have been extremely difficult. Everybody was riding so fast at Ohio. So that race for me, like, I laid back, I kind of penned it, I laid back, I kind of penned it, and I figured out, like, which side of the track I was faster on. But you got to kind of plan, like, where you would make your move. Like, if I make my move and then I'm slower than them on a section of the track, it's pointless to make my move. I'm just going to get tired trying to ride too hard through there. So there is some strategy on where you make your move and what days you're faster. If you're truly faster on a certain day, you might pick a pit strategy. If it's very close and you don't think you can make up a double pit, basically spending 12 more seconds in the pits, then it's not worth the double pit strategy. And that's where that stuff's just a little more difficult. But you got, as a racer, like, you can be fast, but if you don't have that mental capacity to be able to think about those things during the race, then you don't have the package. And that's where, like, a lot of these XC1 guys have the package. That's why we are where we are. But at the same time, you got to be an XC1 to figure out that stuff. So it's every year you learn a little bit more about each rider and each track.
See, and just like we were talking about last time, all the more reason for people to move up to XC1, get in the group with the big dogs, learn some knowledge.
You're guaranteed a top 7 at this point. With 6 people entering, you're guaranteed a top 7. You'll be the 7th.
And hey, they paid a 10th as of now, so you're in the money.
Damn right. Now we just need to find a big sponsor to pay 10th through 20th, and if you qualify for XC1, move everybody up.
My next comments do not reflect the thoughts or opinions of my guests. They only reflect On the Pipe podcast. Not necessarily even need a sponsor. Maybe you just need a race series that pays out less than 1% of their total pro purses for their rider entry fees. Just
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I no comment.
just I was just spitballing off the top of my head. I don't know. It seems like it would work, but who am I? What's up with the loop out? I think that was the biggest. I can't tell you how many like stories I saw where you're coming through and everyone's cheering. Woo! You go through the checkered flag and you just hear a collective, "Oh."
Yeah, I really let my people down. But I had to think of the bigger picture. It's deer season. And Corey said, "Don't F up the bike. I don't have time to go deer hunting and fix up all the shit you break." So I said, okay. I don't even think, like, genuinely, I told him, I said, dude, the tires are almost still good. Like, I hardly spun the wheel. I didn't crash. Like, the bike, you could literally run the graphics again. Like, I kept that thing fresh. All I could think of was, it's deer season. Don't F up the bike. So he's getting that bike ready in a couple days and then flying out to meet me out here for the National Enduro. I'm going to get all the stands set up. I guess it'd just be too much to ask for to get him to come out and set up his own stands and shit. I mean, damn. But I guess it is what it is. I'll do the dirty work. No, actually, Grant and Brooke have been out here for the last couple of weeks. He didn't come to the race, so he's got us set up and ready to rock and roll. I'm going to come right in and I'm going to enjoy my peace and quiet. There's no phone service for a week. Hopefully, I'll kill my deer before Corey gets there because he has got a golden horseshoe when it comes to deer hunting, and yeah. So I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that I can bag one this week, and then he can focus next week on hunting instead of rebuilding bikes. People made the comment of, man, I guess adjusting the valves is easier. Listen, boys, I'm not on a Cowie. The valves don't need adjusted every time I kick the bitch. Like, well, I guess you don't kick them anymore. I'm on a Yamaha, and those things, I hold them off the rev all the time, almost all week long, and they are really solid. You do not have to worry about that motor. I'll finish the season on that thing, and I'll rev it just like that. Next time I'm gonna rev it and with it though. We've got Ironman, and there's gonna be a crowd. I don't even care. Like, if I win Ironman after last year, like, just bring me the chainsaw. We'll chop that bike up. Not really. Somebody's actually going to show up with a chainsaw.
Stu, you said.
But chainsaws in the crowd, I love it. Like I want it to sound like Red Bud at Ironman this year. Like, the last couple turnouts at GNCCs have been a little bit weak. I know Ironman's going to be the savior for us, so if you're thinking about coming to Ironman, just come. Like, don't think about it, just come. Like, we got Ironman is the one to wait for all year. If you've been waiting, it's your chance. Like, I don't understand why our turnouts have been lower. I get Joe Biden's gas prices, but at the same time, like, I mean, I'll still spend money for a good party. And I guess the hookah band or whatever they called it this weekend didn't set off the crowd, but we got country artists. Yeah, they do karaoke. Actually, it's not technically. I just get on stage and sing. The crowds, they got a beer tent. Like, anybody listening, if you haven't been to a GNCC, Ironman's the one. Bring your chainsaw, take the bar off of it. That way you don't cut anybody, or keep it on. I don't know, whatever. I guess it could be interesting either way. Air horns, like, get us hyped up. We want to hear that shit. Like, I mean, the crowd's cool, but you hear stuff like that that really gets you pumped up. We've been actually training at the track with air horns the last couple of weeks just to see if it changes the riders' lap times, and it's significant, like 3 or 4 seconds a lap. Like, you get the air horns out and the chainsaws, and the boys just start ripping out of nowhere. They think they're at Red Bud. So,
I'll leave the air horn and the chainsaw at home. I'm just going to show up at the track with a gas now sign.
That will work for me.
Get you fired up. Be like a bull seeing red.
That will definitely work for me. And Ironman's one of the ones that I actually have to pit twice, so I burn too much fuel there. I think with the thick loamy dirt and my fat ass, I gotta pit twice there. So the, the whole bike burns some fuel, but yeah, that one maybe to get on a different lap as everybody else, it's just gonna have to happen there. So, but yeah.
Last year you didn't have to worry about that thick loamy dirt too much.
I did not. I just had to worry about trying to make it to the fifth turn. So you'll have that at your bigger shows. We made it to the fourth.
Yep. Happens on them big jobs.
Yeah. So
I think last year the year that Craig Morgan played there too.
No, I think that was the year before. I think last year was who is it? March Banks' girlfriend or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Temecula Road.
That's who it was. Yep.
Yeah, Temecula Rose, Temecula. I can't remember. One of them new country artists. I don't keep up with the new country too much, but
yeah, and they're married to a dirt bike rider. I remember that.
Yeah. The guy that's coming this year, another new country artist. So hopefully he's got some good coverage for Garth. Because if not, I might be walking out too. But apparently the new generation likes this style of country music. I think it's a little overrated. But regardless, there's a beer tent, so drink enough to make it sound good.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know if you can drink enough to make some of this new stuff sound good. It's pop music with a guitar.
No, I actually listened to this guy. He's got
who is it?
I got a guy walks into the bar. What's his name? Shit, I can't remember. I've heard some of his songs. He's actually not bad.
Sounds
he's
like
got some good music. Yeah, he's definitely a new country artist, but he's not like Jason Aldean walking out with pants that are tattered with holes, like that kind of country artist.
Bedazzled pockets.
Yeah, and bedazzled pockets. It's not that kind of country artist. So, yeah, no, I think it'll be a good time. Like Ironman's always the one to go to. Like that. I mean, we got music every night. Sometimes the bull. You're always going to see a fight. You're always going to see somebody get hauled out in a cop car. Like, it's the one to go to. Like, it's the Redbud for GNCC. Like, everybody's got that Redbud screen that they do whenever they're at Redbud. Like, people need to start the Iron Man screen. So that's something we gotta talk to the Morganton crowd about. I think them boys will take care of it.
We just got to keep our fingers crossed for some better weather at Ironman. I've been in Ironman when it's snowing, been in Ironman when the ground's frozen, been at Ironman when it's raining, been at Ironman when it was underwater.
Yeah. I have to say, normally at this race, the West Virginia round, the weather's pretty nice. And it was 37 degrees when I got up one morning there. So
yeah.
The chances of Ironman being warm this year are probably slim to none. But that means the bonfires are going to be better, and you're going to have to drink whiskey to stay warm.
It's a necessity. I think it's on the list of requirements.
It absolutely is. If you're coming from the south, like people from up north, they don't mind the cold anyway. But if you're coming from the south, you're going through Kentucky, which means there's plenty of whiskey. Grab some on the way in. It's like it's a redneck blanket. You don't have to worry about putting on long sleeves.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Go until your forehead's sweating, and you get chills. That's when you know you've drank enough.
See, those are the tips that you can't get anywhere else. This is where you
Absolutely
learn.
Not. Absolutely not.
So why didn't Grant race this past weekend? Where was he at? Well, we know where he was at. Why wasn't he at the race?
Yeah. So he and his team made a decision, like basically with the National Enduro Championship on the line, nothing really at the GNCCs. He just literally has to pretty much line up for the last two National Enduros. If he podiums this weekend, unless I win, he should wrap up the championship. So I think for him it was just the decision of trying to get this championship and make sure that he's got the money coming in. So
calculated risks.
yeah. So with the GNCCs, obviously the number of injuries this year, you got to factor that in. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's because of the series or anything like that, but like you can't argue with statistics. And right now, it's not looking good for the riders that were there this season. So it could be a broken hand, something stupid, miscalculated lapper could take you out of a championship. And without him being in the championship of GNCC, makes no sense. So that was where they kind of came up with a decision. It wasn't the team pushing him one way or the other. It was just something that they brought up and discussed to make sure that it sounded okay all the way around. And Grant agreed that it was definitely the best decision for everybody. And so he went out here. He called me. He's like, listen, if I'm on the East Coast, I'm gonna want to go to that race. So I need to be far away. Do you think I can go hunting out there? I just don't want to be nearby. I'll watch it online. So um, I talked to the guy that we leased from, which is a motocross track that I've been going out and hunting for the last decade and killing a lot of big deer. And he said gates are closed. Here's the code. Tell him to come on. I'll see him when he gets here. So um, within minutes, Grant was rolling out. So he's been there all week, and hopefully he's got everything set up and he's got one tied up for me.
Yeah, how mad do you think they're gonna be if you show up and put one down before either of them do?
Well, last year,
They're
both
gonna have arrows
him and
flying at you.
Brooke, yeah. Well, last year, both him and Brooke, that was the first time they really came out and hunted, and they both got really good deer. So, I think they'll let it slide if I get one. Since I let them on my gold line out there. This place is like it's one of a kind for deer hunting. It's unreal. Like if you're a hunter, you can't beat this place. Just the amount of great gear that we have out here, and then I lucked into it doing riding schools out here. Hooked up with a guy that was doing races and promoting some local races. He told me about a track to do another riding school, and I went and met this guy. Roll up in his office, and he's got pictures with the president and all this. Like he's serious, and I'm sitting there like trying to figure out like, man, I don't know, like I don't know if this guy would be into me hunting his property or anything. Doesn't seem like we'd mesh. And um, I finally posed the question, and he started letting us hunt out here. And with a guy that's wearing a suit for a job every day, I was real nervous to kind of talk to him and in the way that I would normally talk to people. Just my dumbass making jokes and whatever. So like we're trying to be politically correct. And then Corey, he shows us his shop, and he's got all these boxes of liquor, which I thought were just like moving boxes or something he stored and stuff in. And Corey looks at him and he goes, "Damn, you like to party, huh?" And Bill, who we leased from, he's the owner of Midwest Extreme, which is where they do like boom digging and stuff. He goes, "Yeah, I was trying to fill you guys out. I guess I should have just introduced myself and said, 'Hi, my name's Bill Graham, and I like to have a good time.' And then we wouldn't have to sit here waiting like, do we like each other or not?"
That awkward
Ever
feeling out
since
phase.
then, yeah. So ever since then, we've been going out there, and it's like my second family out here. Super super good people. I love the Midwest. Like, you know how it is growing up in the Southeast. Like, there's a lot of respect that we have for each other down there, and a lot of the country doesn't have that. But this is one of those. And you get a motocross track, and I get deer hunt. So that's where we're headed.
It's like a win-win-win.
Yeah, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. So, but yeah, so hopefully he's got all the deer marked out and got me a stand ready. So I'm ready. I haven't been able to wind down all year, so this is it.
Well, heck yeah, man. I wish you luck out in the woods. Usually I'm wishing you luck in the woods on a dirt bike, but now hope you lay down a big one up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that works out. Hopefully I think Thad might come out. Ricky might stop by. So see if we can't get Ricky his first whitetail. That would be a cool one. He had one a couple of years ago, but yeah, it's kind of a melting pot for this time of year. Like all the riders, we're all buddies at the end of the day. So it's cool to kind of hang out with people, the same guys that you race with for a living, and you sometimes hate because, well, I don't really know, just bullshit drama, but come out here and wind down, and everybody's boys again, and the only thing that you share is nobody has phone service, so it's
That's when you can
literally in the
really
middle of
let your hair
nowhere.
down.
Yeah, yeah. So it's fun time.
No, that's awesome. It's cool to see, especially like having the other guys come out and how tight knit everybody is. And I'm sure it's got to be a relief to be able to hang out outside of a race weekend when everyone's not on edge and getting ready for the race and your competitors out there. So sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like it, a lot of people are shy to come talk to a lot of the racers, and some of the racers are hard to talk to because they're shy themselves. And all these guys, like, they're normal people. It might take a second for them to warm up to you, but I mean, when we're out here and racing isn't involved, like, we don't even talk about it. We're talking about deer, chicks, and beer. Like, that's it. So. Yeah, it's just a normal atmosphere. It's all the same guys that you race with, and it's a completely different atmosphere from here to where you see them on the next weekend. But yeah, it's cool. Like, I don't think a lot of the motocross and supercross side of thing, or most sports in general, I don't think that they hang out quite as much as we do, and it's definitely the racetrack family, and it's always good to get out aside from racing.
Yeah. How far away is the next Enduro from there?
We'll be just under 3 hours. I think it's like 2:45, so not too far at all, and it's literally right on the way. So for the guys that are driving through it, it's an easy excuse to stop by and do some deer hunting and a little bit of riding.
Heck yeah, yeah. That's the setup on the way out there. That's a long drive. That's a
Yeah,
good way to split up the time a little bit, split up the travel.
yeah. And Kansas City has some killer tracks. Like, just aside from this one's an awesome track. But like KC Moto's down the road, like all the places you watch, like even Imagination, like the Red Bull Imagination or whatever that big event they did is right down the road from where we are out here, where Austin Faulkner posted all his videos of the badass tracks growing up, like right down the road. So all these places are pretty local, and it's a really fun riding area as well. So and we don't have any races out here. Normally just one enduro every few years, and every time we get to come through, it's definitely fun to stop by and ride different places.
Heck yeah. Um, and just while we're on the topic of National Enduro, obviously the last round didn't quite go your way from what you were expecting. So just wanted to real quick touch on that and hear about how the Mud Daubers National Enduro went.
It was frustrating. That, like, they put together a really good event, but it's different. Every round's different, and normally I land on the podium at Enduros. Like, I have an extremely high percentage of podiums there, and
Yeah, I think everyone gets a little bit surprised if somehow you missed the podium, and I think that was
yeah,
kind of the thoughts on it last weekend. That's why I just wanted to hear from you what had happened.
yeah. So it was difficult. Like, I mean, definitely everybody does get surprised when I miss the podium, and it's one of those tracks that's never been my greatest, but I always get podiums there because somebody's always hurt. Like last year, Grant was out, Ricky wasn't there. Um, Toth still beat me by 3 minutes and 15 or 3 minutes and 17 seconds there last year. So realistically, I was not as far off as last year, but on paper it looks worse because last year I was on the podium. So, it's one of those tracks where, number one, I'm not as young as I used to be, which means I don't have the balls. And that place, I'm telling you what, if you got the balls, you can make up 30, 40 seconds just in some straightaways. But um, I think as I get older, I shift down more and more gears when I'm going through those straightaways with a cornfield on one side and oak trees on the other. So, to me, running 95, absolutely, I can do it, and I trust my reaction times, unless a deer is also doing 50 miles per hour into my side, and if he comes out of that corn, I'm into an oak tree at 90, and that's lights out. You're dead. Like there's no coming back from that. So that shit goes through your head. Like as a racer, the older you get, you start thinking about those things. So that was some thoughts, and then beyond that, like I never have ridden that track super great. So it is what it is. Like I really needed to win there. It would have been ideal to try to hold it down to the end, but as we kind of talked on the episode before about the Enduros, I needed to win at Michigan that way because I knew Grant was going to win here. Like I think I'd already called it, and I said Grant and Topher are both really good at Oklahoma. So if I won at Michigan, that would put me in a position where we could take it down to Alabama.
Yeah.
I missed the Michigan win by 8 seconds, which essentially took me out of it. So, and what damage I didn't already do there, I finished it off of that fourth this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago at Indiana. But not a bad ride. I was consistent, for the most part. I had some mistakes. I had a couple tip overs. I had some little issues, but nothing major, no injuries, nothing like that. Like people definitely were all asking, like, "Hey, you good? Like, you hurt from last week? Like, why weren't you up there?" And I promise it was not anything like that. It was just a bad day. Like it was, and I can't even say it was a bad day. It was just a bad performance out of me. But it's never been that place where I performed well. So I can't, I just got to chalk it up as a loss and try to figure out how to go faster for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I mean, also going after that too. I think the level of competition just keeps elevating. Everyone keeps pushing each other as well. So, by me saying it's surprising when you miss a podium, definitely wasn't taken away from anything from those top three guys, because obviously they were on it as well. But just going back off of that, and after this one, I'll let you go. I appreciate you joining me, especially before you lose service as you're driving out there. But just a quick injury update. I mean, obviously broken neck, broken face, and now you're back winning, you're back racing. How's everything feeling? Like, is anything still giving you any issues? Would you call yourself fully healed at this point? Like, how much of that is in your mind these days?
I mean, on paper, you look at X-rays. Yeah, I'm technically healed. But you have that much damage done. It takes a while. Like mentally and physically. When it's hard to explain. Like I've never second guessed an injury. Like I've always come back usually better than before the injury. And this one, I think now that I've got a kid, that was a little bit scary. Like if the neck wasn't scary enough, the face like terrified me. I was bleeding out of my mouth and my nose, and just I'd never had. I was afraid that I had like a major brain bleed. I was delusional. I've had some concussions, but like this one, it's weird because I remembered a lot of it. Like it messed me up. Like so, the mental side definitely plays a role. Like going as fast and taking the chances, taking the risks. Like last year, I would like even on a track where it's hard to pass, like this past weekend, I didn't care. Like I was going to go faster than anybody else around and outside and make that pass happen. This year, I prefer a strategy and just ride where I'm comfortable. And I think that has something to do with the injuries, but also on the physical side, like you lose a lot more, a lot faster than you realize. And the older I get, the tougher it is to come back. And the strength side, the like managing my weight as a racer. Like I'm not light enough to where I should be, but you also can't be on a crash diet and racing every week. So if I'm on a crash diet and trying to race, I'm going to take all of my energy and basically throw it out the door. So, I just gotta eat normal, hit my marks every day, and keep consistent and make it to the off season healthy and do what I can then to try to come back stronger next year. But there's definitely a lot of things that I have to focus on in the off season to come back to where I was when Ben and I were battling this time last year. Like, yes, the competition is higher. These guys are going faster than they were last year, but at the same time, I should have been, had I been on the bike, I think I would have been able to continue to elevate my speed as well. And I still know that I still know for a fact I'm not as fast and as good physically as I was last year. So, and there's, at this point of the season, like, there's nothing you can do, and we don't get paid enough to say, hey, I'm going to come back when I'm 100%. I'm far from 100. Yes, I'm still getting some wins here and there, but we don't make the money that the top guys in other sports do, where we can say, hey, we're going to wait until we're back 100%. We make the money where it's like, so that medical insurance and all those bills, we need bonuses. So that's your motivation for the weekend. So, yeah.
I know that's said with a little bit of lightheartedness and some laughing, but I don't want to beat that dead horse again at the end of this one. But it's a bummer that is the mentality of it. And, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
so,
at least you're back and at least you're winning.
Yeah, that's the big thing. We got to look at the positives and keep moving forwards. And this week was definitely another positive. And with all the things moving forward to next season, like this was a good time to get another win. So, we gotta keep our sights set on next year, and this year just do what we can with what time we have left in the season. And the next thing is just trying to build a good foundation for next year.
Well, sweet. Well, man, like I said, thank you so much for joining me and for chatting with us. Congratulations once again on another big win this weekend. Wish you luck in the woods this week, and then also next weekend going into the National Enduro. And then I guess we'll catch up after Ironman. So good luck out there as well.
All right, sounds good. You going to be an Ironman or Egypt?
Hey, man, I don't think anybody knew that yet.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Cut that out.
I will be in Egypt.
All right. Well,
actually, no. I'm getting back on a Saturday, so likely to not be an Ironman. I'm gonna try to get to Ironman because you done talked me into it with all this partying and concerts and stuff.
Can you make it there by the time the concert starts? 'Cause, Saturday night at Ironman's like no other Saturday night. It's a whole nother level.
That is true. I gotta check my itinerary, see what I can do.
I think you better figure that out.
I just need to change my flight to Indy and then have someone come grab me.
Somebody's going back to North Carolina, I promise. I promise.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, and we'll talk to you then.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you later.
See ya.